Okay, here we are.
All right.
It's June 2020, and we're spending some time with Chandra, Quaye. And Chandra, we just want to hear a little bit more of your real estate investing journey story. And you got some really fascinating aspects to who you've become and who you are and kind of where you are now with your family and all. So just want to ask you some questions and just kind of hear from you what life's been like. So can you share a little bit with folks who are watching a little bit of your career background story, kind of how you got to the place you are?
Sure. I took a winding path, I guess is the best way to say it. You know, I started out my career as an attorney, and it was fine, but I didn't find a practice area that I was passionate about. And then I moved into a senior executive role with a for-profit education company. And I really enjoyed that work, had some great colleagues, but I felt that I had a passion in real estate, and I was just figuring out, how do I get started with that? How do I get capital? What do I do? I just didn't know. And I researched HomeVestors actually about a year or two before I actually decided that I was going to purchase a franchise.
So back up a little bit. So you're working for this this educational company, and you started kind of a real estate business, you know, prior to HomeVestors. So you were kind of in the space. Tell us about kind of how what were the steps before joining HomeVestors that got you into real estate?
So I actually, when I was first researching HomeVestors that year or two before, I was trying to figure out what area of real estate I really wanted to be in. And I ended up settling on property management. And I actually looked into a property management franchise as well. And so I came to a decision. I remember New Year's Day 2017, I was texting with a friend who worked at the same company I worked at. And I said, yeah, this year is going to be my last year with this company. I'm going to, go ahead and start my business. So, I gave myself that year to kind of figure out what that would look like. And I went ahead and, started into property management part-time. Well, little did I know, around April or May, I got let go from that job.
Wow.
So yeah, the timeline kind of got moved up, and I said, okay, I'm going to, I had committed that I was not going to go get another job because I didn't want to. I didn't feel like it was, I would get a great income. I always earned a great income, but I wanted to build wealth and have an unlimited income potential rather than a fixed salary. So I thought, I'm going to start my own business. So I was going to dive into property management full time. In doing that, I came to one of the deal maker sessions to just meet investors, meet potential clients. And I did meet a potential client, a guy named Adam Schneider, who happened to be a HomeVestors franchisee. And he asked me to analyze one of his deals as a rental. When I heard what he was getting it for, and then he told me he was buying it from another franchisee, and I was like, well, if they're selling it to him this deep, what in the world did they get it for? And so I started talking to him and the other franchise, and I remembered the conversations I had had a year or two earlier. And I said, I'm doing this HomeVestors thing. So I kind of switched gears, and went with HomeVestors.
Wow. So, but back me up just a little bit, because I want to get to, because you got a really full life. I mean, you've gone to law school, you've got an undergraduate degree, but there's a whole nother part of you in terms of family. So tell us about, because a lot of that's been driving your decisions, right? To kind of, my sense is, gain more time, freedom.
Yes. I enjoyed the work I was doing before. And like I said, I worked with some great colleagues, but I was on the road a lot, because the company was based in the DC area. I was living here in North Carolina, and I was, in charge of campuses that were in several states. So I was kind of on the road, going to different campuses, going to different meetings. And I had, 3 young kids. So while I enjoyed growing myself professionally, I always had a conflict because I didn't want to, miss the time with my kids. And so getting into real estate really gave me that balance. I'm still growing professionally because, you own your own business, you're going to grow. You are going to learn some things about yourself that you are going to have to whip into shape. So I get that professional growth, but I also get flexibility. I work when I want to work. I work hard. I won't say that I work short hours or anything, but I have the flexibility to do something on Tuesday instead of Monday if there's something going on with my kids. And I'm certainly not traveling, out of state anywhere near as often as I used to. So that's been wonderful. I feel like I just have a totally different relationship with my family.
Right.
Because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So give us what is it that you're doing? I mean, give us the size and scope of it. Where are you doing it?
So I'm in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, which is other people may not share my opinion, but I think it's a hot market. I really do think it's a hot market. It may be hot in different ways than other markets. It's a transient area due to, the primary industry being a military base. So you've got military folks coming in and out. So it's a transient area in terms of housing. It's particularly great for accumulating a rental portfolio, which was my goal, coming in. Like, I was into property management. I wanted to build wealth. And, so I knew that I wanted to get rentals. Just didn't know how to do it until, I really got hooked up with HomeVestors. So I've been focused on that. I was doing a count, I was like, man, how many houses have I actually bought? I figured out that I bought 42, and I think I have kept 13, I think. I might not have a quite accurate count of that because I bought and sold them. But I've been like, if I can find a way to keep it and convert it to a rental, that is my go-to because, that matches my long-term goals. Right.
So you did it. We are jumping around. I like this, but so you did this analysis for Adam. You started to get into the details of, okay, who he bought it from, what they bought it for, what he bought it for, what the numbers were looking like, and you're like, wait a second, this is actually good. And so, what that was in 2017.
That was in October of 2017.
Because you were managing things in Fayetteville and in Raleigh-Durham, correct?
Yes.
Because so share, before I go into all that, share a little bit about your lifestyle and kind of what you do in terms of, you basically have a mobile life in one sense, right?
I do. I have a very mobile life. So, when I was first transitioning into real estate, I was managing some stuff in the Raleigh-Durham area, and most of my stuff was there, and I had some stuff in Fayetteville. When I did decide to do the HomeVestors franchise, I was very much attracted to the Fayetteville market, even though I lived in the Raleigh-Durham area, and that was because my long-term goal was around renting. So I felt that Fayetteville was an attractive market for me. So I made that decision understanding that, I would have to commute. And I ultimately decided to stop doing management in the Raleigh-Durham area and kind of, found other managers to take on my clients. And now I only manage in Fayetteville and on a smaller scale because I'm very much focused on, building my own portfolio. Then in the meantime, my husband got a job pastoring a church in Fayetteville. So, we realized, we've got this Fayetteville lifestyle. But we do really like the Raleigh-Durham area, and we had just come to North Carolina in 2015. Our kids had changed schools at that time, and they were really settled at their school in the Raleigh-Durham area. So we decided not to move full time. We still have our house in Cary, and they still go to their same school. But on weekends, summers, we tend to be in Fayetteville more, and when they're in school, I kind of commute back and forth.
Right. So So what was the month and year that you joined HomeVestors? So let's get this in context over these, 36 properties?
Yeah, it was October 2017 was when I was first talking to Adam, and I had looked into it a couple years earlier, so I really had the background. It took seeing that deal to make me sign on the dotted line. So I did everything very quickly after that. I'm pretty sure before the end of October, I had already, purchased the franchise. And then I did the training in November. My first advertising was in December. And I think I put my first house under contract December 18th and bought it. Yeah, I think I did.
The same month?
Yeah, same month. And actually, finalized the purchase in January. So 2018 was my first full year, because I kind of had that one month in 2017.
So when did you have the realization? Because I was like this, and I've heard some other franchisees like this. Maybe you weren't, but before you became a franchisee, you're like, okay, yeah, I've heard some stories, but does this really work? Is there really people that are going to sell me a house like this at that steep of a discount? When did you realize, okay, this really does work?
It wasn't my first deal. My first one, I thought it was a fluke because I totally botched everything. I was like, really? You're going to sell me the house? I couldn't believe it. And then my second deal, that was when I really ran into someone who had some serious pain around their house. And I just hadn't imagined it could be that bad. It was a situation where a sister had power of attorney over her sister's house, and I was working with the sister, and she had actually gone to her sister's house and physically removed her because her sister was living in squalor, cat poop everywhere. She was literally having a mental break. And they literally just went there around Christmas time. She and another sister, they just grabbed their sister and took her back to South Carolina with them. They were like, you're going with us. I mean, so suddenly that literally the woman's cell phone was still in the bathroom and everything was just there. And, they said she's not functional. We've had to, put her in an institution. We can't pay her mortgage. This has to happen. And that was when it hit me like, this is the situation. Like, wow, this is the situation. It's not necessarily about me and how good I am at buying. It's about helping someone solve a serious problem.
Yeah.
So that one was my second deal ever. And, it worked out great for me and great for them. Everybody was ecstatic, walking away from it.
Wow. So maybe in a little bit, we'll get into some details about kind of what the rest of 2018 and 2019 and 2020 have looked like for you.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, maybe share, what was your perception of HomeVestors? Sounds like you were kind of pleasantly primed up to make your decision, but what was kind of your perception versus before you bought a franchise versus the reality of after you bought a franchise and you were able to run the business? Was there any before and after perceptions?
Yeah, I think it's just really hard to get a complete understanding of something from the outside looking in. I in talking with other HomeVestors franchisees, I got the impression before that this was a way that someone without a lot of real estate investing experience could really learn things quickly because you would have the support. And after, I definitely saw that, for myself. There were you, Adam, others in the Fayetteville area that really just helped me along, because those first few months, I was calling somebody at every property saying, I think I got my ARV right. Like, am I doing this right? Is this real? And so just having that network, I really got the sense before that was going to be the case, and nobody let me down. I really did have that network once I got into it. And so it gave me a confidence once I was a few months in, and, other people had supported me, and were confirming for the most part that I was getting it right, then I developed a confidence and, feel like I'm able to do it.
Well, what's fascinating to me, having seen, your beginning and your journey, is that you've actually helped the whole Fayetteville team get better. And so that's what's really neat when a new franchisee comes in who's got some different skill sets and has some prior experiences. I mean, you ramped up very, very quickly, comparatively, say, and you were able to kind of add some juice to other franchisees who were saying, oh, wow, look how well she's doing. What is she doing? And and so that's what's really cool about this whole concept, because there's this, seems like there's an intelligence gathering as you go along from each other, almost imperceptible sometimes, but it's there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely there. And I think actually I had an advantage in perspective, because I was familiar with the Fayetteville market, but I also was sort of an outsider, so to speak. So I could see things about the market that other folks just might not see, right? Because we're influenced by our environment, what we hear in different environments. And so I was just sometimes too stupid to know that other people might not think something was such a great deal. And, I would buy it and then I would sell it. They'd be like, how'd you do that? I'd be like, well, it's easy. I sold it. So I think just not having, sometimes our background information can actually inhibit us rather than help us. Right. Whereas if you just come in with a clean slate, you can really sometimes have an advantage.
Right. Yeah. Wonderful. So thinking about what you've experienced thus far, what is it about HomeVestors that you think, okay, I really value this aspect of this situation with this brand, with my market, with my franchisees? What is it? If you could just kind of describe, hey, this is what I really like about this.
Yeah. Two big things stick out to me. One is the brand itself. I think there's just no competition for it out there. I think as an individual investor, there's just no way that even if you do similar types of advertising that you get the same impact that the brand has. Plenty of people, I'm very sure some have said, and others, haven't explicitly said, but have insinuated that they went with me because of the brand. The other thing that sticks out is the relationships with vendors, particularly lenders, because, funding is often a barrier to someone getting started in real estate, and many lenders want you to have a certain number of deals under your belt, whereas when you're with HomeVestors, they know that even though you individually might not have as much experience, they know you're surrounded by a network. So it's much easier to get those initial relationships with lenders going for your deals. And so I found those two things invaluable. And you know what? I'll add a third one. The training, I think, was wonderful. I really do think the training was wonderful, just on how to handle conversations with a seller. You just don't get that necessarily when you're doing it, by yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So talk to folks about what your regular or weekly, monthly, interaction is with the rest of your franchise team in Fayetteville or Raleigh is like. I mean, how often do you interact with them?
Some of them I talk to every other day, sometimes every day. We just, personalities click. And so, I've got colleagues and friends out of it. And some of them that share my same goals in the business, we're comparing notes on those things. We're also sharing resources with each other. So if one of us discovers a particular tool that can help us with our follow-ups, then, next thing you know, everybody knows about it. So that's really great that there are no secrets. It's not a competitive atmosphere, because everybody knows, there are plenty of deals out there for you and me. And so there's really a intentionality about sharing the information. So I love that.
That's good. Yeah, I'd have to say the same. This business can be very lonely, and just having some colleagues and advocates and folks who are pulling for you in a non-competitive, non-threatening environment, it's just really, really, really nice.
It's awesome.
That's great. So okay, we'll rewind the tape a little bit now. So chronologically, if you don't mind sharing, talk to us about your 2018, 2019 results. Like, you've got some goals. You want to build a rental portfolio.
Yes.
And so I'm sure the way you pay for that by doing wholesales and flips.
I do.
Right?
Yes.
Those feed your obsession with rental properties. So talk to us about how, what are your results been?
Yeah, so my first year, 2018, I was, looking this up a couple days ago. I bought 15 houses, which, really shocked me. I felt really good about that. And then in 2019, I ended up buying 19 houses. So, ramped it up a little further. So far for this year, 2020, we had the COVID thing. It was a little blip, but I don't feel like it had a huge impact. So far for the year, I've actually closed on 8, and I've got 3 more under contract. And, I set up good advertising for June. So I'm confident that I'll beat 2019's number. I was going for 25. I think I can still get there. We're going into summer. This is the busy season. And I've managed to keep, I believe, 13. I do need to double check that number because I had some coming in and then I sold some along the way, but I think I have kept 13 along the way. And I have financed that very much with flips. I run on the least amount of cash possible because I'm always holding whatever I can hold.
Right.
But I feel really good about that. And I don't think I could have managed that without being a part of the HomeVestors franchise.
Sure. So, 13 or so properties, that's sort of the beginning of a nice portfolio, creating some real monthly cash flow for you, right?
Yeah. It's great.
So you're managing them yourself as well in your property management company. And so you're kind of paying yourself in essence, you're not paying property management like I am, right? But that becomes a meaningful, source of income for you at this stage.
It really does. It really does. I do have financing on most of them, so I don't own most of them outright, but I have good spreads between, what I pay on the mortgages and what I'm getting on the rent. And, when you really think about it, that's 13 houses that I've got someone else buying for me because a tenant is essentially going to buy my house for me. I haven't come out of pocket really a dime on them. So, every dollar that I get from them is really great, and I reinvest it. I also, like you said, I save on the property management fees because I do self-manage. And in addition to that, I use the infrastructure that I have set up for managing my own properties. I still manage on a smaller scale for some other folks as well. So really the management fees that I'm collecting from that even covers my infrastructure on the property management company itself. So I really, it's really no out-of-pocket cost, and, I'm getting all upside from it. So I'll do that all day long, as many times as I can.
So I'm curious if you would be willing to share, maybe not specific details, but when you look at a property, when you think about keeping it, what do you have a metric? Some people are looking at a percentage of value versus rent. Some people are looking at, net cash flow dollars on an annual basis. Some people are looking at, they don't want to keep properties with too much equity in them, whatever. There's different matrices that people are using to kind of say, okay, I want to keep this one, I'm going to wholesale, rehab this one, whatever. What's your general rule of thumb because you want to keep as many as you can, right? What's your rule of thumb?
I'm looking at more of the cash flow than anything else. I pay attention to the equity, but it's primarily the cash flow, just because I want to get to a point where that cash flow is supporting my home buying business in general and allowing me to build the portfolio. In terms of the equity, I'm actually one, I don't mind having a lot of equity there. And I do actually like the idea of building the equity over time. So I have a tendency to leave it there as long as I can, as long as I got cash. I have a tendency to leave it there so that it's increasing my net worth overall, because I'm in the long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, totally. Well, with 3 kids, right? So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Got to keep some cash with 3 kids.
That's right. That's right. So you've kept 13. What's your goal? What are you trying to do?
When I started out, my goal was 100. Now, I think my goal is more. I don't have a number anymore. I'm just, as much as I can, because, I think it's a great business. I think it's something that if my kids are interested, that, they can do as they get older, and if they're not interested, then it's assets that I have. If I ever decide I want to retire, that I will. But if I ever decide I want to, then I've got all those assets that I can sell and go play golf. I don't know what people do when they retire. I probably won't ever do it.
That's great. So if somebody, and HomeVestors, like every system, has its unique advantages, and it's probably got some disadvantages for somebody, depending on their situation, right? There's no perfect system. There's no perfect brand, whether it's McDonald's or Subway or Starbucks. There's nothing perfect, right? However, if you were advising somebody who was kind of like in your shoes back in 2016, 2017, like, just wrestling with making their next step, what's your advice to them if they're thinking about investigating HomeVestors? What are your thoughts?
Do it. Do it without delay. Like I said, I wish I could go back to 2016, 15, whenever it was that I first looked into HomeVestors. If I had known what I ended up learning in 2017 and what I know now, no question about it. Everyone I talk to that even thinks they might have an interest, I'm like a walking, talking spokesperson, because I think it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, for me and my lifestyle and my goals. So if someone has similar goals, I say do it all day long. It's worth the investment. If you can find money, find it, do it.
Well, Chandra, I'm amazed by you, and I'll tell you why. First of all, you got a wonderful family. You got all these kids. You got a property management company. You got a HomeVestors business, and you divide your time between 2 cities. You just kind of make me tired thinking about what you're doing, and I get tired pretty easily. And but I'm just thrilled to kind of let folks hear a little bit more of your story, because you are a real inspiration. So do you have any other parting thoughts when you sum up this time together?
Yeah, I do have one. I talk to a lot of folks, friends, family members who are very interested in what I'm doing and very interested in real estate. And I always just tell people, make sure it's something you're passionate about. Because I know it can look from the outside like it's some kind of get-rich-quick scheme. And, you can become wealthy, you can build wealth, but it's like anything else. If you don't like doing it and you're not passionate about it, then it's going to feel like drudgery and hard work. Whereas for me, it's a passion. It's something I love. So I don't really feel like I get tired. I never feel like, I need that vacation. I need to retire. I need to stop doing this, because I love it. So if it's something you love, figure out how to do it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with everybody. And just really looking forward to seeing how 2020 works out for you. And so I'm going to end the recording now, and we'll chat here for a couple minutes.